If you think that the complexity to coordinate, synchronize, and integrate across all operational domains is complex, think about trying to sustain operations in that environment. And it takes complexity to a whole new level. So talk to us a bit this morning and to set up our first panel, which is operationalizing the strategic support area in support of multi-domain operations. There's frankly no one in the Army, no one in the military better able to set that stage for us than our host commander for Global Force once again, General Gus Perna. General Perna has the complex challenge of figuring out how do you sustain current operations in the current operating environment, but prepare the Army to sustain operations that support the concept of multi-domain operations while implementing the doctrine of mission command. Army Materiel Command, under General Perna's direction, has actively participating in each of the cross-functional teams, so they're integrated totally in the Army's modernization effort. And because he didn't have enough to do, the Secretary of the Army and the Chief of Staff of the Army said, "Hey, Gus, in your free time, why don't you take on the leadership of all Army installations around the world?" And so he's consumed all of his free time doing that. And then just as that happened, the issue of Army family housing, military family housing arose. But I got to tell you, for those of you who live in and around Washington, if you paid attention to that effort as it was unfolding in the multiple congressional hearings, there is no one in the United States Army who will more doggedly pursue the excellence that our Army families require than General Gus Perna. Please welcome General Perna to the stage.
Well, it really is a great day to be here, and I really appreciate everybody being here. And I will I ask for everybody's indulgence with me just a little bit. The area is fantastic. No better place to live than the Huntsville or Tennessee Valley area, except for every day of the year where allergies are in full attack. Nothing dies here, and most of us who live here have allergies 365 days. So work with me, and I'll do my best. General Brown, that was an incredible way to start the morning. Thank you for your leadership and your friendship and all that you're doing in the Pacific as you established that picture for us. Very clearly said, and what a challenge. But you are the right leader for us, so thanks so much. I do have to self-report, though. I have been in sports purgatory for the last 3 months, so I don't even know what a bracket is. And so I take, because of my friendship with General Brown, I believe that Duke slam dunked the win the other night and wasn't even close, right? So, but the good news is, right, the Yankees start the run to the World Series today. What's up, right? Baseball season starts, life is good again. So, to General Ham, sir, thank you very much for all that you do with your leadership and your team and bringing this all together. When we have these events, it allows us to illuminate, right? It brings to attention of the world all that our great Army's doing. It partners us with industry. It allows our great leaders and workforce to communicate our message. And I just want to say thanks for your continued leadership, support, and friendship. How about a big round of applause for AUSA? To our industry partners that are here today, I thought General Brown did an awesome job bringing to our attention your partnership. I am a big believer in the partnership of industry. I firmly believe that it is only with our efforts together that we will be successful. And I am very grateful for all that you do every day in that light. As many of you know that work with me, I go out of my way to sustain these partnerships. But it is a partnership, and there is two sides to the coin. Both of us must hold ourselves accountable every single day in execution of the partnership so that we can maintain the trust that will be required in times of emergency. Today, as we manage things together, we are preparing for the future event, right? Our responsibility is for the future execution on the battlefield. In that light, we must always hold ourselves accountable. And that's what we should expect of ourselves as leaders and those that work for us. So thanks for your partnership. In that light, though, it's been brought to my attention that I've been hard contact. I have a big, giant, long list of people trying to get in to see me. And so the other day when I was speaking at AUSA, I announced that I'm more than willing to take phone calls. Now, my staff's not happy about that, but I've received many phone calls last week based on that announcement. I open and I encourage your access to me through the availability of phone calls. We can get a lot done in a 10-minute regular phone call. Many of you I speak on a monthly or bi-weekly basis, and we just talk about events that are going on, and I find them to be both very helpful in building relationships and holding ourselves accountable, and I offer access to me accordingly. So, to the general officers that are here, especially the senior general officers, both retired and those newly appointed at the highest level, thanks for your support. Thanks to the senior executives, the soldiers, and Department of Defense civilians that are here today. It is the total team that brings this effort to what we need every day. And what is that? Our responsibility, if you believe in Clausewitz, and most of us do, is twofold: prepare for war and execute war. Now, we are focused today on talking about multi-domain operations. It is really essential as we move forward that we think, as General Brown said, through all domains. And as we do that, we can't leave any domain uncovered. So today, I'd like to focus on the strategic support area under multi-domain operations. Why? Because our adversaries are studying us. They just don't sit back and wait for contact. They are studying what we've done for years, and in particular the last 17 years. They're watching how we are ramping up our readiness and our modernization. They see the improvements that we're making every day. They are afraid of us on the battlefield. We have clearly been focused on achieving victory on a large-scale, decisive action battlefield. The Secretary and the Chief have been driving us in this direction in their tenure, and we've made significant improvements. Last year when we were here, we announced the Army Futures Command. Mike Murray spoke yesterday about everything that they're doing to modernize our capability for the future battlefield. But mark my words, our adversaries are paying attention. And we need to be prepared in all domains because, as General Brown alluded to, what would be the easiest way to prevent a war? To stop us before we even start. To stop us in our installations, our ports, and our airfields. That's their approach to a multi-domain operation. They're not going to wait for the greatest army, the greatest services in the world to be right on their borders. So what do? How do we approach this? What is our effort and our priority going to be? For Army Materiel Command, it is going to be 7 focus areas. And the 7 focus areas I'd like to spend a moment and talk to you about. I will describe the focus area. I will talk about some specified and implied tasks, and then I will try to visualize and wrap it up for you so that you understand the enormity. But what I'd like you to think about is what I said earlier. How do you stop the greatest army in the world from coming into our borders and defeating us on the battlefield? You stop them before they leave. So, my first focus area is in installation readiness, where our installations are first and foremost the home of our soldiers and our families, and I'll talk about that in a moment. They are the platforms for building and sustaining readiness. Readiness of our installations directly correlates with our ability to create combat power and project combat power. We must adapt our post camps and stations to operate in complete and contested areas. It can't be business as usual. We must modernize our infrastructure to support high volume, rapid mobilizations and deployments. We must provide world-class training venues for current and future forces and the weapons that are being developed for the future. And we must provide facilities to sustain operational readiness today and in the future. This is an enormous task, but we can do this across all of our installations if we focus our priorities and our funding accordingly. Soldier and family readiness. The health, safety, and welfare of our soldiers and our families are of utmost importance. We cannot let them down. These soldiers and their families come from throughout our country, all walks of life, and they join our Army with the confidence that we're going to take care of them. It starts in their home on our installations. The readiness of our Army depends on these soldiers and their families. And to that end, we must provide safe, clean, and healthy housing for our soldiers and our families. We must provide those services that our soldiers and our families need in their support of raising their children while their husbands or wives are away at war. From community services to quality child care, the diversity of things that we can do to enable and enhance their way of life is unlimited if we approach it the right way. We must develop better ways to reduce overhead, to cut redundant services, and free up resources so that we can redirect programs to the need of our families and their children, so that our soldiers don't think about anything else when they're forward in combat. That they have the confidence that we have put our arms around them and that we will enable their ability to grow. We must provide services that can be expanded or contracted based on the senior commander's needs. We have to eliminate the cookie-cutter solutions. The capabilities that our soldiers and families need today are never the same from day to day. They must be able to expand so that we can take care of their needs accordingly. Third, the industrial base, both commercial and organic. This is our ability for our arsenals, depots, and ammunition plants and commercial industry partners to adapt, operate, adapt, and modernize to meet not only today's requirements, but the surge requirements in the next war and the requirements of all the equipment that we're going to modernize and bring to fruition over the next 20 to 30 years. We must reform our processes, both organic and commercial, to ensure that the workload management first produces quality at all times, has a timeliness, accountability, and comes at us at the lowest cost. Every dollar must be accounted for. Every dollar that I can save, I can extend to other resources to ensure readiness is improved throughout the force. We must ensure that we meet current readiness and future surge requirements. It's just not today. The industrial base will be required to replace damaged or destroyed equipment on the battlefield. Currently, the capability is only to maintain requirements. How do we expand so that we can surge to reproduce the technical and modernized capability that we desire on the battlefield rapidly? If you reflect back to World War II, many of us have a vision of the great industrial base coming to fruition and creating a capability that was unmatched in the world. I would argue that we had that capability because we had great leaders that had a vision prior to World War II and understood the partnership and understood that we had to prime the pump and understood that the capability that would be required would have to come at a moment's notice. It started as early as 37, extended through 39 into 41. And even then, it wasn't until 1943 when the first amount of equipment and munitions that we needed to defeat the enemy actually came to fruition. So you have to ask yourself, where are we today? We have the greatest capability in this country in the industrial base. Is it ready not only for today, but for the future? We must resource and modernize the OIB to provide capabilities to support and sustain the next generation. The things General Murray is bringing to fruition over the next 10 to 20 years, 30 years, we have to develop the industrial base to support them today, not after they arrive. We must recruit, train, and retain the artisan workforce collectively in the organic industrial base and in the commercial industrial base. The work that these great artisans do every day provide the best equipment the world has ever seen on our battlefield. That's the tangible impact. The intangible impact is the confidence that our soldiers have because they know the people working on the equipment are the best in the world. They know when they take a piece of equipment out on the battlefield, it will survive enemy contact. It will be ready. It will not break down. It will be able to maneuver and decisively engage the enemy. That's what this artisan workforce brings to us. And as General Brown alluded to, we must protect the OIB against asymmetric and cyber threats. We're naive if we think people don't know where our equipment is being manufactured and produced on a regular basis. Fourth, munitions readiness. We must have the means to place the right ammunition in the right place for the right requirement. We must have ready and reliable munitions, from small arms to precision munitions. But the key is we must produce to the requirement, not to a dollar amount. We must be able to receive, store, and issue the munitions in a timely manner, not just for training, but for war. We must position the munitions in the U.S. for rapid deployment, but we also must place them in global strategic positioning so that we can execute as required. As General Brown said, our positioning of these capabilities, in essence, could potentially deter our enemy. The enemy is watching. They know as we move our munitions around the world. They understand the changes we're making in the industrial base to expand and account for the capability that an army needs on the battlefield. They have watched us ship it to other ports and put it in positions where we think we're going to need it. We've not only put it in positions where we think we need it, but we've put it in positions to make the enemy think twice. And have we put it where they think we put it? It can't just be in places marked munitions. If we want to be able to maneuver and draw access to them and execute, all of our munitions when we need it. We must modernize the munitions organic and commercial industrial base to keep pace with our new weapons. Again, it's money invested today for the future. Fifth, strategic power projection readiness. We must maintain the ability to rapidly project expeditionary forces and follow-on forces from fort to port, port to port, and port to foxhole. Not since 2003 have we integrated personnel and equipment and supplies onto the battlefield. We've been working hard, but we must continue our effort in this light. We must use everything to our means: roads, railheads, airfields. But we also must preposition the equipment we need forward so that it can be rapidly executed as we link people to it. The Army preposition stocks that are staged around the world are ready to go today. They're fully mission capable, and they have all the equipment that commanders need to execute the fight on the battlefield. It's been positioned in places where the COCOM commanders need it, and it's been placed so that we can rapidly react as the enemy dictates. It is about speed of response and creating the agility that we need to be where the COCOM commander tells us. In addition, we need our preposition stocks to be right-sized. We need them to be positioned so that we not only know where they are, but the enemy is not sure where they are. We must exercise our strategic seaports and build competence and depth in the muscle memory of all, both here in the United States and forward. We must continue infrastructure refurbishment of our critical terminals to ensure, that's the New Jersey in me. I just can't get rid of it. To ensure ammunition transport has access to the places we need, and we're not constrained by regulations and policy. We must align rail cars and container assets to major installations to ensure rapid deployment. And we must identify commercial and container capabilities to expand our deployment capability. We will be required to go many places in the world. Our goal is always to be in an away game. In order to enable that, we must be able to do it expeditionary and rapidly. It will take a myriad of capabilities that come together through an integrated and synchronized process to ensure that we can do that. 6, supply availability and equipment readiness. These are the foundations of material readiness. These will ensure, our efforts will ensure that our soldiers have the right equipment and the right capability at the right time. We must establish the right breadth and depth in not only Class 9, but Class 8. We must be able to have responsive systems and processes to ensure that when the soldier requires it, it is there for them. We must establish repair cycle flow capability to rapidly replace battle-damaged equipment. We must work with industry to provide predictive maintenance capabilities so that we can see, literally see, the future and have repair parts where they need to be before they are required. We must standardize our ASLs, not only across our BCTs and the active component, but also in the Guard and Reserve and in our combat aviation brigades. We must implement umbrella ASLs at our training centers and our deployment sites to cut the requirement down for distribution travel time. We must continue to build units through the relocation of equipment. so that we have the right combat power for the COCOM commanders. We must be able to fill the holes of equipment so that there is no shortages at any time. And we must get rid of the excess equipment in our motor pools and in our containers located around our installations. And then last but not least, we must take an effort to reform logistics information readiness. Underpinning everything we do is the massive amount of data that is at our fingertips. Our ability to see ourselves is the first step in any operation. Right now, I would argue that we have a lot of information, but we're not so good at synchronizing, integrating, assessing, and making the decisions off the information we have. This information is embodied in our enterprise resource planning systems, or as all of us know, our ERPs, used daily by all of our soldiers and our civilians. Right now, my assessment, our ERPs are duplicative, they're complicated, they're not integrated platforms, and they don't provide us with the right information at the right time. We must bring these capabilities together so that they enable commanders' decision-making in mission command. We must have a capability that can operate in degraded environments, not just in our offices. We must consolidate current logistics information ERPs and modernize them so that we can see ourselves and bring the data to bear quickly. I personally believe that our approach in this light, to see ourselves and make the best decisions, will be a key step to enabling the strategic capability for logistics and sustainment and keep us where we need to be, in front of the enemy. If we streamline our systems and move them to a commercial cloud, reduce life cycle sustainment costs, and increase operational performance and enhance cybersecurity, difficult task to say the least, we will have the upper hand. So I thank you for bearing with me. Those are the 7 focus areas. I know the presentation behind me demonstrated the vastness of my comments. It's not just here in the United States, but it's over wherever U.S. forces are stationed, live, and train. Our approach to the strategic support area under multi-domain operations is key to our success. Our efforts in the strategic support area will reach forward to the operational and tactical areas and drive in support of success. But it'll take our collective effort to do so. It'll take all of us working this problems together. So I want to thank everybody for their attention today. I told General Ham I'll take a couple questions while we transition to the panel, so I'm available accordingly. Okay, so bring them on up. And I just want to say to everybody, God bless you. Thanks for your support. Army strong.